2 million phantom social security numbers, sent out like junk mail coupons. No ID, no interview. Just, welcome to America. Elon Musk, 7:06 a.m., DOGE headquarters, Washington, D.C. The Capitol was wrapped in a silent, cold April morning, but inside the fortified steel and glass prism of the DOGE HQ, a political earthquake was building. The Department of Government Efficiency, now known simply as DOE, wasn't crafted for media optics. It was engineered for warfare, digital and bureaucratic. Under the razor-sharp leadership of Elon Musk and the quiet but relentless fire of Congressman Tim Burchett, the agency had become something altogether different. Inside a Level 7 secure briefing room, a group of agents, analysts, and legal minds sat motionless, eyes locked on the central monitor. A single red line of text blinked over a wall of classified headers. SSN Issuance Report, 2021 to 2024. A mechanical hiss announced Elon's arrival. Half prodigy, half powder keg. He walked in with his sleeves rolled and a satirical grin welded to his face like armor. Burchett leaned against the wall, arms folded like a Southern prosecutor waiting on a confession. "You look like you just found Jesus," he said, or someone flipped him on eBay. Thud. Elon dropped a thick dossier onto the table. No ID, no fingerprints, no interviews. Just a flood of Social Security numbers pumped into the system. He said, voice even but razor-edged. "In 2021, we caught 270,000. 2022, it spiked to 590,000. Then 964,000 in 2023. And in 2024, drumroll." He paused. 2.1 million. The room froze. One legal advisor coughed coffee through her nose. "They mailed them," Elon continued. "Mailed them to people who never passed even basic ID checks. Straight out of the immigration pipeline. This isn't mismanagement. This is by design." A special agent from the DOE's Forensic Finance Unit tapped a key. Property records cascaded onto the screen. "Hold up," Burchett narrowed his gaze. "Is that Schumer's name?" The agent nodded grimly. "One of the addresses used for employment verification links to a lease owned by a company under C. Schumer Holdings, AOLC." Burchett's jaw clenched. "You're telling me Schumer's name is on a building used by ICE that's funneling ghost data?" The agent nodded again, flipping another file onto the table. "Some of these properties have been vacant for years, Tim, but the rent checks never stopped. Someone's laundering taxpayer dollars. And I don't think Schumer's the only one." Burchett stared down at the paperwork, then looked up. "This isn't just fraud, Elon. This is treason." Outside, DC carried on clueless. Inside DOGE, the fuse had been lit on what would soon explode into the most devastating political scandal of the century. And that was just the first page. Capitol Hill. Later that day, marble corridors hummed with bureaucracy. Interns scurried. Aides whispered. Security guards nodded lazily at passing suits. But Tim Burchett wasn't here for pleasantries. With a manila folder in one hand and a glare sharp enough to carve granite, he moved like a storm through the halls of power. Just ahead, Senator Chuck Schumer, flanked by staffers, exuding a smug calm. "Senator." Burchett's voice cracked the quiet like a whip. Not angry, just focused. Schumer turned, adjusting his glasses like a man stepping onto a stage. "Congressman Burchett, how's the crusade going over at the Church of Elon?" Burchett didn't blink. He held up the folder. "This is a federal lease, signed by a company tied directly to your cousin. That building's been a ghost town for 3 years. And yet, ICE keeps sending rent checks like clockwork." Schumer's smirk faltered. Just a twitch. "You're biting on Elon's bait, Tim. Be careful, it'll blow up in your face." "I'm not fishing," Burchett said quietly. "I'm connecting dots, and your name's sitting right on top of one." Schumer stepped in close, dropped his voice to a whisper. "You think this ends with a headline? A mic drop? You're walking into something you don't understand. DOGE is just Trump's heat-seeking missile." Tim didn't flinch. "I believe in paper trails, Chuck. And yours smells like taxpayer cash run through a family laundromat." A few aides froze. A CNN intern angled their phone discreetly. The air had changed. This wasn't a hallway exchange anymore. Schumer looked around, adjusted his tie, and leaned in once more. You don't know what you're poking at. Washington doesn't forgive men who dig too deep. Burchett leaned in too, voice even cooler. I didn't come here to make friends, Senator. I came to flip the lights on. Schumer didn't reply. He turned and walked off, staff close behind. Burchett stood still, folder in hand. He looked down at it, running a thumb along its edge. Right on top, C, Schumer Holdings, LLC. He didn't need a judge yet. Just one more piece. And maybe a few more flashlights. Because something filthy was festering in the dark. The White House, Rose Garden. Cameras were already rolling when President Trump stepped up to the podium. No press alert, no formal statement, just a sudden 7-minute bombshell. Reporters launched from their latte cups like it was DEFCON 1. Trump stood beneath a clean spring sky, flanked by 2 American flags and Carolyn Levitt, who clutched a binder that could either hold talking points or death warrants for half of D.C. He didn't waste a second. "Good morning," Trump began, voice steady but sharp. "I know you weren't expecting me. Usually, that's a reason to be nervous." A ripple of awkward chuckles filled the air, tense, uncertain. He leaned slightly on the podium, eyes scanning the press like a man holding 4 aces and daring someone to call his bluff. "In the last few months," he said, "thanks to Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, we've uncovered something bad. Not just oops bad, rotten to the core bad. The kind of thing that makes Watergate look like a parking ticket." Carolyn Levitt stood to the side like a statue, her face unreadable. "We're talking billions of taxpayer dollars siphoned through fake leases, fake identities, fake benefits. Paid out to people who don't even exist. Ghosts. Literal ghosts, ladies and gentlemen." He paused, and apparently, some of those ghosts are now landlords. Reporters exploded with questions. "Mr. President, who's involved? Is this political retaliation? Does this implicate Senator Schumer?" Trump smirked. "I'm not dropping names, not yet. But I'll say this, some very powerful people, some very nervous people, are going to be leaving this town. And some of them might be trading suits for jumpsuits." A hush fell over the room like a dropped curtain. Carolyn stepped up to the microphone, precise and calm. "This isn't about politics. This is about a system-wide breach. It's criminal exploitation at the deepest level. And we're still calculating the damage to our national infrastructure." She paused, giving the moment space to breathe. "I hate to leave you hanging, but I can't get ahead of the president." Trump leaned back, almost casually. "And folks," he said with a wry grin, "Elon's not just building rockets anymore. He's building cases. Big ones." A visibly rattled MSNBC reporter tried to regain control. "With respect, Mr. President, isn't this just a distraction from your own legal issues?" Trump didn't even blink. "No, sweetheart. This is a distraction from your donors going to prison." A gasp moved through the crowd like a wave. Someone dropped their coffee in the grass. Carolyn straightened. "We understand the weight of this moment. We also understand the importance of due process. But once the American people see what we've uncovered, they won't be asking questions. They'll be demanding resignations." Trump delivered the final shot like a general calling an airstrike. "They've been robbing the system blind. But that ends now. You'll hear more. And when you do, remember who warned you first." He stepped away from the podium. No follow-ups, no spin, just a man who detonated a political nuke and walked away like it was a Tuesday. By the time Air Force One left the ground, the story had already cracked the news cycle open like an overheated pipe in August. Trump's announcement, short, cryptic, and radioactive, rippled across the political landscape like a shockwave through wet cement. Cable news anchors were shouting over each other. Fact-checkers were chain-chugging coffee. Capitol Hill was in quiet panic. In a dimly lit office, Elon Musk opened his laptop. No press conference, no op-ed, just 280 characters. At precisely 1:47 p.m., without warning or context, he tweeted, "Chuck, I'm starting to wonder if you're getting a cut of that government fraud." But no, that couldn't possibly be it, could it? Delivered with the precision of a sniper, calm, calculated, and cold. A brief silence hung in the air. Then the internet detonated. Within 15 minutes, the tweet had crossed 400,000 likes, sending a chill through every communications office on the Hill. Staffers froze mid-text. Phones lit up like slot machines. Did you see this? Is he serious? Oh no. In MSNBC's War Room, a producer muttered, he just accused the Senate Majority Leader of profiting off fraud, with a smiley face. CNN's headline bar flipped within seconds. Breaking: Elon Musk suggests Schumer involved in federal fraud scheme. Schumer's office responded within the hour. This is a baseless, reckless conspiracy theory designed to distract from Donald Trump's legal challenges and undermine public faith in our institutions. Which, translated from political speak, meant, please stop asking us about this. But the internet? It wasn't about to stop. Right-wing influencers grabbed the story like a live wire. Meme accounts exploded. Fake IC leases, Schumer-themed NFTs, and a photoshopped image of the senator as the Monopoly man went viral overnight. And Elon? He just tweeted again. If you don't want people connecting the dots, maybe don't be the guy handing out crayons. Somewhere in the depths of the Capitol, a frazzled Democratic staffer dropped her phone and muttered, "We're screwed." Because this wasn't some fringe Reddit rabbit hole. This was Elon Musk, backed by data from DOGE. This was a sitting president lighting up the fuse. And the message couldn't be clearer. This wasn't going away. This was just getting started. Late that night, the Capitol slept, but the swamp didn't. On the third floor of the Cannon House office building, under the dull hum of old fluorescent lights, Tim Burchett sat alone. His jacket was off, sleeves rolled, half-eaten sandwich, full binder, the weight of the day pressing down like gravity. The face-off with Schumer, the president's scorched earth press conference, Elon's tweet, already the stuff of legend. The media had gone nuclear, but Burchett knew better. Behind every explosion is a fuse. And that's when the knock came. 2 soft taps, the kind that don't belong to interns or lobbyists. 11:47 p.m. Burchett glanced at the clock just as his chief of staff eased the door open. "Sir, he's here." The man who entered wore a gray field jacket. No badge, no introduction. Just a DOGE pin on his collar and a flash drive in his hand. It's worse than we thought. He dropped a thick folder on the desk, then plugged the drive into the secure tablet. A map appeared, followed by a series of overlays, property records, leasing contracts, transaction chains, all woven into a grim digital trail. "This building right here," the agent said, pointing, "is listed under the DHA's emergency housing program. But the lease? It runs through a shell company tied to Schumer's cousin." Burchett leaned in, voice low. "You're telling me IC is paying rent to Chuck Schumer's family?" "No, sir," the agent replied. "We're telling you taxpayer money was funneled through DHS into 4 fake properties, 3 in Maryland, 1 in upstate New York. Every last one linked to political families. Schumer's name shows up twice. Then came the transfers, wire authorizations, banking logs, internal government routing codes. One flag payment from late 2023 stood out, labeled Urgent Refugee Housing Allocation. The destination? An abandoned warehouse beside a Pizza Hut. There's a money trail," the agent said flatly, "and it ends in the Senate Majority Leader's office." Burchett exhaled, not out of shock, but confirmation. The pieces were aligning. "Give me everything," he said. "Emails, bank statements, every version of every lease. I want dates, stamps, initials, everything." The agent hesitated. "Sir, if we go forward with this, we're talking criminal referrals. Real ones. Federal blowback." Burchett didn't flinch. "Good," he said. "That means we're over the target." Silence settled over the room like a dropped curtain. Burchett stood slowly and walked to the window, staring down at a Capitol that looked clean from this height, but now felt like a crime scene in formal wear. "We've spent years giving speeches, writing letters, waving fingers." He turned, eyes sharp. "Well, I'm done wagging." He walked back to his desk. "You prepped that subpoena, because if this holds, we're not stopping at hearings. We're going all the way. Courtroom or prison." The agent gave a single nod and disappeared into the hallway. Burchett remained alone in the room, lit by the quiet glow of Capitol Hill. Outside, the city buzzed beneath a blanket of lights and lies. Inside, DOGE had just illuminated a dark corner no one wanted to admit existed, and the man holding the switch wasn't blinking. By morning, the political detonation had gone full nuclear. Every major network was in wall-to-wall coverage. It looked like January 6th all over again, except this time, the insurgents were subpoenas, data dumps, and Elon Musk's Twitter feed. CNN led the charge. A red banner screamed, "Breaking! Trump allies accused of orchestrating fraud allegations." And in the eye of the storm, under the cozy warmth of studio lighting, sat Senator Chuck Schumer, unshaken, unbothered. A host with a mug that read, "Democracy dies and disinformation," offered a gentle prompt. Schumer folded his hands, calm. "This is McCarthyism 2.0, he said. "It's the same playbook. Trump's poll numbers fall, and magically, another scandal appears. Purely political, completely unfounded. Nothing but noise." The host nodded solemnly, like the senator had just delivered a sacred truth. "So, you're saying the DOGE investigation is fabricated?" Schumer smiled. The tight, practiced kind of smile only DC can teach, somewhere between polite and insincere. "There's no fraud," he said. "Just a desperate man afraid of 2024. MSNBC picked up the torch. Primetime panels lit up with former DOJ lawyers, career analysts, and one guy who once shook hands with Obama in an elevator. The consensus? Musk was acting like a Silicon Valley Roger Stone. DOGE was an unelected agency drunk on power. Tim Burchett? Just a backbencher looking for a legacy. But inside the halls of Congress, something strange was happening. A man in a suit silently removed the nameplate from his office door, slipped it into a leather briefcase, and exited through a back stairwell. The swamp wasn't being drained. It was evacuating itself. 8 p.m. Eastern. Every channel was locked in, not out of duty, but fear of missing what came next. The screen cut to the Oval Office. No music, no graphics, just Donald J. Trump seated at the resolute desk, flanked by the American flag and a folder stamped DOGE Final Report. He looked into the camera, not like a man giving a speech, but like a man who just unearthed a body and now held out the shovel. "Good evening," he said. "I won't take much of your time, because I don't need much." He raised the folder slightly. This report, compiled by the Department of Government Efficiency, with support from Elon Musk and Congressman Tim Burchett, details what I can only describe as the largest coordinated abuse of federal emergency funds in modern history. A pause. Not dramatic, just intentional. 12 names. Billions in fake leases. Phantom shelters. Real theft. All done under the guise of helping the vulnerable, while lining the pockets of the powerful. He leaned in. They didn't just steal your money. They stole your trust, your vote, the credibility of your country. And they thought they'd never get caught because they never imagined anyone would look. A slight grin touched his face. Well, DOGE looked, and what we found wasn't a wizard behind the curtain. It was a network of bad accountants and worse attorneys. The feed cut to a montage. Musk at a press event, Burchett testifying, Carolyn Levitt at the White House briefing room. Back to Trump. To the American people, DOGE wasn't built to spy on you. It was built to protect you from the people who already were. This isn't a deep state, it's a clean state. And it's just getting started. He lifted a paper. As of tonight, 2 U.S. senators and 3 House members named in this report have submitted their resignations. More are expected, and some, frankly, won't be resigning. They'll be indicted. Social media ignited in real time. But Trump pressed on. Elon Musk has told us, and I quote, "We haven't hit bottom yet," which means the digging continues. And Congressman Burchett, who I now call the warrior of the House, will lead the next phase. Trump adjusted his jacket, then slowed his voice, history book cadence. Washington whispers when it's guilty, but we're done whispering. This country deserves volume, clarity, a government that fears you as much as you feared it. Then came the line that would echo from TikTok to textbooks. There will be mass resignations in D.C., but more importantly, there will be justice. Fade to black. American flags still waved in the corner of the room. Silence. The clerk read the formal opening, and then the screens flickered to life. A towering digital display lit up behind Congressman Burchett. One by one, wire transfers, shell corporations, and lease agreements filled the screen like a digital police lineup. Exhibit 22. Burchett began, his voice level, unwavering. Emergency federal funding, reallocated, transferred into a holding company listed as C. Schumer Holdings, LLC. Lease recipient, ICE. Property location, 215 West Hover Street. He pivoted slightly. Another click. A grainy image appeared. An abandoned warehouse, crumbling with age. That facility hasn't had running utilities since 2017, Burchett said. No personnel, no operations, no occupants, just rent checks. Pay by taxpayers. Every month, on time. He turned to face Senator Schumer head on. This lease bears your name. The address ties to your cousin. And the funds, public money. Would you care to explain that? Schumer adjusted his tie, fingers twitching. This is political warfare, he said. A fabricated story. Conspiracy nonsense cooked up by your friends on Doge chain and your pal on the rocket ship. A low chuckle rolled through the press box. Burchett didn't so much as blink. This isn't about SpaceX, Senator, he replied coldly. It's about financial documents, signed by agencies, deposited into accounts, and now under federal investigation. Another slide popped up. A contract digitally signed, traced back to a verified Senate IP address. Schumer leaned in, raising his voice. These are doctored. This entire thing is a hit job meant to distract from Trump's indictments. Burchett folded his arms. Trump didn't sign these leases, Senator. You did. Unless, of course, he's been forging Charles R. Schumer in cursive. Muted laughter, sharp, unforgiving. In the corner, a DOJ analyst shifted uncomfortably. Reporters scribbled like they were transcribing a mob trial. And in a quiet, secure facility, Elon Musk watched the stream unfold, a glass of water in one hand, a backup drive open on the screen in front of him. He said nothing. He didn't have to. Back in the chamber, Burchett clicked again. The final slide appeared. Internal DHS emails, flagging the same addresses. Repeated warnings about redundancy, waste, resource misallocation. Overruled. Burchett leaned forward. So let me ask you this, Senator. 12 buildings. 8 different corporations. For linked directly to your office. 3 tied to your family trust. Are we honestly supposed to believe this is all a coincidence? Schumer's jaw tightened. Then came a fallback. I invoke my right to legal counsel regarding any criminal inference. A whisper from the press section. Now he's shy. Burchett leaned back, calm. You can plead the 5th, Senator, but I think the American people just heard the 1st. The hearing dissolved into chaos. Reporters stormed out. Staffers scrambled. Within hours, the video would be everywhere. And Schumer? He left the room with his shoulders lower, the cameras closer, and the truth too loud to bury. It hadn't started with a press conference. It began with a door that didn't open. At 8:14 a.m., reporters noticed that Representative Lydia Park's office was still dark. Blinds drawn, badge reader offline, staff gone, phones straight to voicemail. By 9:07 a.m., her resignation was confirmed. Personal reasons. Time to reflect. An hour later, Senator Miguel Show released a 2-sentence statement. I'm stepping away from public office. I will cooperate fully with all ongoing investigations. No press conference, no denial, just silence, louder than any speech. The cracks had formed on Capitol Hill. In the corridors, aides whispered like they were at a funeral. Doors slammed shut, printer trays emptied. A few hard drives were, coincidentally, reformatted overnight. At DOJ headquarters, a thick manila envelope was logged under confidential, high priority. Inside, the full Doge chain report, financial records, deposition transcripts, and a forensic audit run by Musk's own cyber team. The title on the cover read, Evidence of Systemic Abuse, Co-Immigration Funds Misallocation. In the White House press room, Carolyn Levitt stood behind the seal. Her gaze was calm, her voice razor-sharp. "We're aware of the resignations," she said. "We're also aware of multiple cooperating witnesses. Additional information will be released as the DOJ completes its review." A CNN reporter raised her hand. "Ms. Levitt, can the White House confirm whether Senator Schumer is under investigation?" Levitt didn't flinch. "We don't comment on active investigations," she said, then looked directly into the camera. "But I will say this. This isn't a storm. It's a reckoning." Silence. Then, a whisper near the back of the chamber, not realizing the microphone was still live. "God, how many more are going to fall?" Outside the Capitol, protesters gathered, not shouting, not chanting, just standing, holding signs with one word painted in stark black letters: accountability. And across the street, behind tinted glass, a man in a tailored suit quietly slid the nameplate off his office door. He slipped it into a leather briefcase and walked out through a side exit. No press, no statement. The swamp wasn't being drained. It was evacuating itself. 8 p.m. Eastern. Every major news network was locked in, not because they were told to broadcast, but because they couldn't afford not to. The screen cut abruptly to the Oval Office. No graphics, no countdown, just Donald J. Trump at the resolute desk, the American flag behind him, and a simple folder on the table labeled DOGE, Final Report. He didn't look like a man delivering a speech. He looked like someone who'd just uncovered a buried secret and was now handing the shovel to the world. "Good evening," he said. "I won't take much of your time because I don't need much of it." He held up the folder. This report, compiled by the Department of Government Efficiency, with support from some very sharp minds, including Elon Musk and Congressman Tim Burchett, outlines what can only be described as the largest coordinated abuse of federal emergency funding in modern U.S. history. He paused, not for show, but to let the weight of it settle. 12 names, billions of dollars, bogus leases, phantom shelters, real theft, all carried out under the illusion of protecting the vulnerable while quietly enriching the powerful. Then he leaned forward. "They didn't just steal your money. They stole your trust, your vote, your belief in this government. And they were confident no one would call their bluff, because who would dare rip back the curtain?" He let a small, sharp smile break through. "Well, DOGE did. And guess what we found? No wizard, no mastermind, just a parade of accountants with no morals and lawyers with no conscience." The screen briefly cut to a rapid-fire montage. Elon Musk speaking at a digital governance summit. Burchett delivering testimony in front of a packed chamber. Carolyn Levitt addressing the press with steel in her voice. Then back to Trump. "To the American people, let me be clear, DOGE wasn't built to monitor you. It was built to shield you from the people who already were. This isn't the deep state." He looked directly into the lens. "This is the clean state. And it's just getting started." He lifted a single sheet from the folder. As of tonight, resignations have been received from 2 U.S. senators and 3 representatives directly implicated in this report. And more are on the way. Many will step down. He paused, letting that hang. Some won't. There will be indictments. Social media was already on fire. Posts were erupting. Headlines drafting themselves. But Trump wasn't finished. Elon Musk has told us, and I quote, "We haven't hit bottom yet." He tapped the folder, which means the excavation continues. And Congressman Burchett, who I now call the Congressional Warrior, will spearhead the next wave of investigations. Trump straightened his suit jacket and delivered his final words with deliberate weight, built for the cameras, built for the record. "You see, in Washington, the guilty speak in whispers. But we're done whispering. This country deserves a government that's as afraid of you as you've been of it." Then came the line, the one that would be replayed, printed, and remembered. There will be resignations in Washington. But more importantly, there will be justice. Fade to black. An American flag waved quietly in the corner of the screen. If you loved this incredible story, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on new stories.